My name is Daryl Lake. Having started my career in Sault Ste. Marie at Algoma Steel as a research metallurgist, I've always been interested in technology. My primary interest was in chemistry, which was really my first love. At first, when I started teaching, all our graduates were getting jobs. But as time went on, especially in the 90s, the kids weren't getting jobs. And I wanted to do something about it. Glenn Crombie and I came up with the idea of a technology center in Sudbury. And away we went, applying to the provincial government. At that time, we could have a route in to get some startup funding through what was called the Sector Partnership Fund. It's a fund set up to link industry, academia, and governments to advance the economy. Well, what a better way to get jobs for the kids that we wanted to get jobs for in the first place. So we applied to the provincial government, and after 17 revisions to our application and a year and a half, we finally got approval. That first amount of money was $5 million to get us growing. Over the time, because I think the idea was selling well, we were not only getting young people jobs, you know, a lot of those young people were starting their own companies. A lot of those young people were in fact employing other young people in starting their companies. And we had a program that we worked with the provincial government with called the internship program. And I talked to our local MPP, Rick Bartolucci, about that. He asked me a question one day. He said, you've got almost 100 graduates. How many of those 93 interns got jobs? And I said, 92. Oh, he says, that's phenomenal. That's the best I've ever heard of. So away we went, and over a period of time of the years that we started NORCAT up till 2012, we mustered an amount of money exceeding 85 million, equally shared from government and the private sector. When we started NORCAT, we were in the basement of Cambrian College. When we started the building of it, we knew very quickly that we were going to be out of space very quickly. But Cambrian kept giving us a little more, a little more, a little more. So we decided one day that we would do a plan to bring all of NORCAT together. We talked to Cambrian, and they donated the land on a 99-year lease. So off to a good start. We came into this building with all the finances that we needed, but you know, with that finances went something else. Well, how else can we help? Can we try this technology that your little company is working on in our minds after it's been tested in your mind? And we said, well, sure. This center is the only center in the world with its own mine. In fact, even to this day, I still hear, how in God's name did you ever get a mine? Because we knew the mine had been abandoned and used for a storage space. We needed a mine. Warren Holmes had to give away a mine because he had no use for it as Falconbridge, and we've had the mine ever since. I think first thing was, sure, you can have the mine, but what are you going to do with it? There's no ore in it. Well, yeah, we don't want the ore. We want the facility. And that facility at the time attracted people from, we had them from Finland, we had them from South Africa, we had them from the States, we had them from Greenland, we had them from all over the world come take a look at our training mine, which was a huge boom that they didn't expect. Like when you bring 600-700 people into Sudbury for a 2-week training program, you're supporting the economy of Sudbury, Ontario. So they would even support us more. We tapped into the local rivalry of the two mining companies. One would give us so much and the other would say, well, we want to participate in that too, but we'll participate a little bit more. That's a real advantage for a place like NORCAT, but it also says they're both involved in NORCAT.
Professors at Queen's University in the 90s came to me and asked me to design something for them because they didn't like what was out there because they wanted to start this company.
One thing we learned early about startup businesses, and especially in the technology sector, there is Death Valley after you start. You can start and do quite well for a number of years, but when you hit the 5th year, just like NORCAT itself, boy, there's always a slump. NORCAT was trying to level out that valley of death, if you like, because once people got over that 5-year lull, if you like, down the road, they'd be successful.
Daryl Lake, the
Hi.
famous Daryl Lake,
Nice to meet you.
our former CEO.
Having 3 daughters, I have a self-interest, don't I? Getting girls involved. Well, we started a thing which has been duplicated in many, many ways in Sudbury and through Ontario, but we started a thing called Girls Growing Up, where we brought grades 7 girls into Cambrian and showed them technology and showed them what they could do. Believe it or not, those girls were in the community, and many of them became scientists, engineers. They said, you were the one that introduced me when I was in school to the possibility that I could do technology. Now I've got this company, or I own this mine. And they were the first ones to say, we're interested in all the young people, the young companies, the young entrepreneurs that you have at NORCAT.
That's done by Monique Legault, a local artist.
One of my senior people, Dale Boucher, started working on space technology, and I'll tell you how that happened. Dale got connected with NASA, went down and found a few very interesting people there and said, we're coming to Sudbury to see what you do. And that's where it all started. They're talking about mining on the moon to find water. They said they know nothing about mining, and you're trying to establish a tech center that is involved in mining. I know the technology for mining on the moon is just a miniaturization of what we already do in the mines here in Northern Ontario, and so does NASA recognize that. So as an executive agreed, yep, Dale, give her a try. Did it go to space? No, it didn't, because delays in the space program happen all the time. We sort of put that on the back burner for a while. But to this day, what Dale is doing, he's still making space equipment for NASA, working with other companies that make, for example, they're making hand tools for space. It's one of the projects they're working on. And boy, did that get us publicity. There we go. I've always been a boat fan. I can say that I started my love for boats along when I was a kid with my dad. One day I was invited to go to Toronto and go on a sailing excursion, and that's where I really got a love for sailing. And I came home and I said, you know, Gail, I think I'm going to look around and see if I can find a model of the Blue Nose. Well, lo and behold, there was a little place in Sudbury that had the model, and when I built that model, I got hooked. I just love building tall ships. I like building, period.